What's going on? Welcome back to another Adventure Dave. Today we're going to be focusing on something that's a little bit dear to me, and that is my morning coffee. So for a while now, and living in Brisbane, I've been focusing more on my cold brew coffees than I have the hot coffees. And well, looking after Junior, my coffee is normally cold by the time I get to drink it anyway. And I've just been really enjoying the taste of cold brew over a hot coffee for a while now. I just want to share with you guys how easy this recipe is, and yeah, it's super simple, super easy. So I picked up this little contraption from IKEA. I only think they're a few dollars, and it's perfect. It makes 1.5 liters worth of coffee, and the way I do it is I make myself a cold brew concentrate, and then I do a dilution when I pour it in the morning. So how we're going to do this is we're going to get ourselves some unground beans or ground beans, whichever really works for you. We are going to weigh out roughly between 60 and 90 grams, depending on how much water you're going to use with it as well. So my go-to weight is about 80 grams, and we're going to chuck it into our grinder. So for this, you want to use a medium coarse grind for your beans. So if you're using a filter press or an AeroPress such as this, you want it to be a little bit coarser than that. So we'll grind them up. All right, so now that we've got our beans all nicely ground up, we are just going to make a mess and tip the beans into our strainer. And now what I found works is a little bit of a mesh between every sort of cold brew recipe that I've come across or researched up. So what we're going to do is I've got some ice cold water here. It is water and ice that I've pre-prepared. So what we're going to do is take our ice cold water and a freshly boiled kettle, and what we're going to do is we're going to give the beans just enough so it fills up the cup. And if you time it, they say to give it between 30 seconds to a minute of boiling water and then drench it with ice cold water. And that is what I've found that works the best with me. With the hot water, it just soaks more into the coffee and gets the coffee beans wet quicker. So let me drench our beans in cold water again. And this part is probably one of the slowest parts. So this does take a little bit of time and patience, as trying to get cold water through all these beans takes a little bit of time. What you can also do is just chuck the beans straight in the jug itself and then strain them out at the end. This was just a really nifty little container that I found that can contain the beans while they're resting and soaking. So the reason that I've moved across from standard hot coffee to a cold brew concentrate, or just cold brew in general, is that I find the coffee to be, depending on the beans, but a lot less acidic than what you'd find in a normal hot brewed coffee, and the flavor is given more time to come out of the beans themselves. So what you're getting with time and exposure to the liquid is giving the beans more time to release their flavor, and has a higher concentrate of caffeine because it has been sitting there for longer in the water, and gives it more chance to give it that concentrate. So now that I've given my beans the ice cold drenching, we'll just top it up with normal cold tap water. And what I was saying before about how this was just a mashup between a lot of different varieties of recipes was that I started with this going straight in the fridge from here. But I did talk to one of the baristas at a cafe that we are regulars at, and they said to just leave it out on the bench overnight for 18 to 24 hours, and that will give you your best flavor profile and extraction. Because the fridge is at such a low temperature, you've only got a certain level that you can reach, but at room temperature, you've got that, you raise that level on the extraction. So now that we're pretty full up, I'll grab a spoon or pretty much anything and just make sure these beans are nice and saturated. Now if your beans are loose in the jug, just make sure you give it a really good stir, and I will chuck some Glad Wrap over the top of this and leave it out for 18 to 24 hours, and we'll see you when that's all done. So we're back, it is the very next day. It is, yeah, I'd say roughly about the same time as we brewed this one yesterday. It's sort of when you get around to doing it. Anywhere between 18 and 24 hours is good for brewing a cold brew concentrate. And now what we've got is a 1 litre bottle from Kmart. We've got a silicone funnel right here, and we've also got some cheesecloth. Now what the cheesecloth is going to do is remove all those really fine coffee particles that are sitting in the bottom of this, and it just gives you a smoother cold brew drink. So what we're going to do is throw this cheesecloth over the top of the funnel, and we're just going to pour it straight in. So one thing that I will say you have to keep an eye on in this cheesecloth is that the cheesecloth will soak up some of the liquid that's coming out of the pot. So every now and then you will have to squeeze the cheesecloth back into the funnel to make sure it goes back into the container. So as I was saying yesterday, this pot in my right hand brews about 1.5 litres. So I'll grab another jug right here in 2 seconds. And there we go. Let us stir. We'll put that to one side. Grab our other jug. Now I did just wash these in hot water, so that's why they're condensed. And pour the rest of the coffee in here. So as you can see, I'll just squeeze out the cheesecloth into the secondary container. So now the cheesecloth does hold quite a bit of liquid, so make sure you give it a really good thorough squeeze, that way you won't lose any coffee. And before I give it a second squeeze, this is all the sediments that has come out of the jug itself, and that's the kind of stuff that you don't want in your bottles because it just makes it gritty, and then when you get to the end of the glass there's that little bit of sediment left and it doesn't really go well in the glass. So a cheesecloth just helps straighten out those finer particles. Make sure you give it a nice good squeeze. There you go. So we've got all these fine particles that the cheesecloth has filtered out for us, and yeah, put the caps on, put it in the fridge, and it is ready for you to drink. That is my super simple, easy way to cold brew concentrate. Now I will mix these by probably 1/3 concentrate, 2/3 water, and it is completely up to you how you drink your cold brew. Some places do half-half, some places do quarter, 3/4. It's completely up to you. I do 1/3, 2/3, and it works for me. And I just think this gives the coffee, this gives my cold brew just the most flavor with the least acidity that you will find in a hot brewed coffee. And for me, it's smooth, it's tasty, it's cold, especially during this hot weather. And yeah, there you go. Super simple, easy way to make cold brew concentrate. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks guys.